Hello everyone, my name is Arundhati Amsani and welcome to my channel. In this session, we are going to discuss the past continuous tense or past progressive tense. So basically, the structure is quite straightforward, and this past continuous tense is generally used to talk about an action that continued or went on for some time in the past, and it ended in the past as well. It's not continued till the present. Okay, and it refers to a period or duration of time in the past, and it's not just at one particular point. So if you're talking about an action that has happened at one particular point, then you generally use the simple past and not past continuous. Okay, so let's basically look at the structure of past continuous. So a positive sentence in past continuous is formed by subject or the doer of the action, followed by was or were, depending on whether the subject is singular or plural, and followed by the base form of the verb and ing. This ing indicates that the action is going on continuously. Okay, so we use these with different pronouns. So I was working, we were working, you were working, he was working, she was working, it was working, they were working. So if you can see closely, your first person singular and your third person singular, they all have was as the helping verb, whereas the rest of them, the plural verbs, have were. Okay, so just that is what you need to keep in mind. And instead of pronouns, you could use names of subjects also. Like obviously, an action is usually carried out by people. So most of the times you hear past continuous with people doing actions. Like Sarah was working all day, Janet was testing, etc. Okay, and look at the negative structure. So the only difference is in the helping verb. So you have subject followed by was or were, followed by not. In fact, the contraction form of not is generally used in speaking. And this is followed by the base form of the verb and ing. So I was not working. And let's look at the contraction straight away. So that will be easier. This is how we use in conversational English. So you don't say I was not working all the time. You just contract it and you make it easy flowing. So you say I wasn't working, we weren't working, you weren't working, he wasn't working, she wasn't working, it wasn't working, they weren't working. Okay, so I've just chosen this verb as an example, but you could use any other verb like action verb. You can't use stative verbs like, which show the state. Okay, like know. You can't say she was knowing it. You could only say she knew it. Okay, so things like that. Let's look at the question form here. So past continuous questions in past continuous are a little bit interesting because the questions are short and the answers are also short. Okay, so if you just ask, in fact, if you look at the structure, the helping verb comes before the subject. Okay, so this is something that is easy to remember, but most of the people make mistakes here. When you're asking a question, you should always put the helping verb before the subject. That is how you form a question. Was I working or were you working? And mostly what people say is you were working, and they just may emphasize on the working part. But that's not how you ask a question. A question is always formed by putting the helping verb before the subject and not after the subject. Okay, so that is the difference between a sentence and a question. So was I working? So maybe someone is trying to recall from the past, maybe they didn't remember. So was I working on Sunday? Yes, you were, or no, you weren't. Okay, were we working or were we working together? Yes, we were, or no, we weren't. Okay, so these are short answers. You don't have to say the entire sentence. So you just say, yes, we were, or no, we weren't. Was he working? Yes, he was. Was she working? Yes, she was. Or no, she wasn't. Was it working? Yes, it was. Or no, it wasn't. Were they working? Yes, they were. Or no, they weren't. So simple as that. Okay. And let's look at the negative questions. Again, you could use the same short answers for this particular thing as well. So, wasn't I working? Weren't we working? Weren't you working? So these are like close-ended questions. They don't call for a lot of explanation. You just have to give answers by saying yes or no. Clear? So these are not open-ended questions. Right, so this is the basic structure of past continuous. There's nothing complex about it. And let's look at the functions of the past progressive or past continuous tense. So you have many different functions of past continuous, but I've gathered a few for you just to refer. So let's make it easy. So as I told you in the beginning, past continuous is used to denote an action that continued at particular point. So obviously it is used to talk about actions that continued to a certain point until they were interrupted by another action in the past itself. So let me just give you an example to make it clear. I was studying when he suddenly screamed. So that action of studying continued when this person suddenly screamed, and the action stopped in the past itself. The action of screaming happened in the past and finished as well. But the action of studying started at some earlier point and continued to the point till that person screamed. I hope that is clear to you all. Okay, now it is also used to talk about an action that continued at a specific point of time. I told you in the beginnings of actions that are, that happened in the past at a specific time, we generally use simple past for them, but we also use past continuous to talk about a specific action that continued at a certain time. Okay, so at 9:30 p.m. I was watching Big Boss. So what were you doing at this time if someone asks you? It again depends on the purpose and the kind of information or the kind of sense you're trying to convey. Okay, so that has to be kept in mind to make your speech more appropriate. Now another one, usually the past continuous is used to give evidence of something that you saw in the past. For example, a crime might have occurred and police might be gathering information or evidence. Then, for example, you could use a sentence like, the thief was running through the back door when I was walking along the street. Something like that. Okay, so the thief was running through the back door. So you're giving information as you saw with your own eyes, as it was happening in the past. So this is used to give in evidence of something that you saw. Now another function is when you're talking about the actions that happen together or simultaneously, or these are also called parallel actions. So you could say something like, I was washing dishes while my sister was cooking. So two actions were happening. Two different people are doing two different things at the same time. And that happened in the past. So you could use past continuous with the connective that is while. Okay, and you can also talk about annoying actions that happen frequently in the past, especially with people. You could say he was always complaining about everything. Okay, or he was always scratching his nose, something like that, which you don't find very pleasant. Or she was always crying. Okay, so this is how you use past continuous tense for. And when you're curious to know about something, or if you need some information or favor, you use one very polite phrase called, I was wondering. That means you're curious to know. You don't know whether you'll be getting help or not, but it's a very polite way of asking for help. And apart from that, I was wondering is also used for expressing curiosity about something that you don't know. I was wondering if the lecturer would come today. I'm not sure. So when you're curious about things that you want to know, You use I was wondering. This is an expression of curiosity.